So just to kind of give us an example of what this all might mean, right? So we had mentioned before, right, that there's that idea behind infant or childhood amnesia that, well, maybe it's just that babies can't actually remember anything. And that's not exactly true. Babies can remember, and the memory studies that Roe v. Collier did really demonstrated this well. So I'm going to show you a video of the mobile task, and then we'll talk about the second task. So while this isn't the greatest video, here is the mobile task. So first they have to take some baseline measurements. So this child is laying on her back in this this crib. This string is not attached to the mobile. So all they were doing was just seeing how much did that baby kick. Then their string is attached to the mobile, and the baby learns the task. So you start to see that baby is kicking their legs a bit more. And you see that, oh, this is cool. So they start to learn that they're able to control the mobile. That baby is purposefully kicking to get the mobile to move. So that baby learned very quickly that if I start kicking my leg, the mobile moves. So what they would do is they would teach them that on 1 week, and then the next week they would bring them back into the lab and see whether or not they remember the mobile task. So something that you might have noticed is that there is kind of a lot of busy patterns going on in the crib, and part of that was to see whether or not memory cues were needed to remember that. So obviously the mobile task works really well when you're younger, but as babies get older, they may not be as enthused by that. So instead they created this button task. So that baby learns to press a button, and this train that's inside actually will start to move. So then they do that again, right? So they train them on 1 week, and the next week come back. And I think what's really interesting is that you can look at how long they can actually retain this memory of these tasks. So how long can a 2-month-old be able to remember that if I kick my leg, the mobile moves? So at 2 months of age, it's not very long, maybe one day to the next. However, by 6 months of age, they're able to remember this for 2 whole weeks. And that also goes for the mobile task and this train task. So they start to remember these things, and you're able to put them in that same situation and show that they actually do remember it. By the time that they're 18 months of age, so that's 1.5 years, they're able to remember this for 13 weeks. That's longer than the quarters, the quarter system, right? So they're able to remember that exact same task later on. So babies are capable of storing this memory. But how long can infants actually remember? Well, it really depends on age, right? As we just said. But also, how often do we repeat these tasks, and how long do these tasks last? So if you're given more and more time, or you're given a chance to repeat those tasks, we can increase the amount that they are actually able to remember. In addition, retrieval cues. So I'll just show you in this picture, in this train task, right? They have these different types of retrieval cues. For example, the different patterns here in the background. And they did that also with the mobile task. So in the mobile task, they had those really bright colors around the crib. So those retrieval cues are really important. And what we see is that even our ability to use those retrieval cues can change over time. So if you have a 2 to 6 month old infant, they need that exact same mobile. So they need the exact same retrieval cues in order to remember the task. However, you can generalize that information to later, where older infants will actually be able to remember remember the tasks, even if the mobile changes. So I really just like this quote from Roe v. Collier, where she really talks about that the immaturity of their brain, nor the inability to talk, limits how long young infants can remember an event. As long as they periodically encounter appropriate nonverbal reminders, their memory of an event can be maintained, perhaps forever. So I just really like that, because it's really showing you that we can store this memory and we can retrieve it as long as we have the right types of retrieval cues, and as long as we keep encoding that information over and over again. So if we go back to that basic memory model, what we just described here was that there's a whole lot of things happening that are changing over time in that infant and later on child's life, that really improves our ability to process information, right? So that information processing model, our ability to do this. So for example, our ability to pay attention, our ability to selectively attend to something, our limits, though, also in how we are encoding information. So if that is our actual sensory systems, such as our hearing, our ability to see, for example, all of those things can affect encoding, but also how quickly we're able to process information. So obviously an older child is more able to process more information, and they're going to be quicker at doing so. We also know that our working memory has some limits based on our myelination here, right? So what is our capacity to actually use our working memory? But we also see this with episodic memory, and potentially that is unlimited. We are still able to create new memories, but part of this reason why potentially we are unable to remember as much is because we don't have the right type of retrieval cues. So this was kind of that basic processing model. We'll